Today we're going to look at how toxic thoughts could be destroying your progress on the harp and what we can do about it. Now make sure you wait till the end of the video because I'm going to give you a whole list of positive phrases that you can slot into your harp practice time and see real results. Hello everyone, I'm Christy Lynn and I put up harp related videos every Thursday. So if you're an adult learning to play the harp, then you need to make sure that you subscribe to this channel. Now I know that learning to play the harp can be a little bit discouraging at times. We don't always see the progress that we want right away. And so I'm going to read out a list of phrases that you might have heard yourself saying in your head before. See if any of these sound familiar. I just can't remember XYZ. I'm really struggling with XYZ. I can't do this. I seem to be going backwards. You would think I would have got it by now. I'm so slow. I'll never get this. That was really hard. I can't believe I can't get this yet. This has always been a weakness of mine. Do any of those sound familiar, you guys? Let's admit it to ourselves. That's the first step. So put it down in the comments below. Just put the words "me too" if you identify with any of that, because I'm sure there's a lot of us out there who don't always say the most positive things to ourselves. And there has been some scientific research behind what this does to our brains. So let's get into that. There is a scientist called Dr. Caroline Leaf, and she's absolutely amazing. She's done over 30 years of research into how the brain works, and I think a lot of it is really applicable to us as adults learning to play the harp. So she has found that the thoughts that we think, whether positive or negative, can be physically seen in the brain, and they grow like little trees. And when it's a toxic thought or a negative thought, she says it's like poison to our brains. It upsets the chemical balance of our brains so that we can't think properly, and it causes our thinking to be foggy, and it actually shrinks the part of the brain related to memory. So imagine how that affects our learning. So she says that if we don't address these toxic thoughts, the negative ones, then they actually become physically a part of our brain. But thankfully, our brain has neural plasticity, or that means that we can change our brains depending on what we spend more time thinking about. If we don't think so much about those other things, the brain prunes them off like you're pruning in the garden, and because they're not so useful to us anymore, and the brain just keeps space for the thoughts that we think many times over. So that's pretty cool. So here's how these toxic thoughts affect our learning on the harp. Firstly, when we say a toxic thought, it's going to break down some of the positive learning that we've just done when we're practicing the harp. It's going to affect our memory and our ability to think. We're going to have some foggy thinking. It's going to use up our emotional energy. And so we're actually destroying all this energy that we've put into learning the harp. We're going to undo so much of that, and it's going to take us so much longer to learn things just because we're choosing to allow ourselves to think these negative things over and over. So what can we do about this? Thankfully, according to the research, we can actually change our negative thinking. We can change the thoughts, which will then change our brains, and then we're less likely to think those thoughts again. So let's look at the steps of changing these toxic thoughts. Step number one, we've got to notice the thoughts. As we're practicing the harp, what kind of thoughts are going through your brain that are quite negative? You can notice it next time you're practicing. Or if you're in a lesson, that's really helpful. My students often say these things out loud. They say, "Oh, sorry, I'm so slow," or "I just can't seem to get this," or "This has always been a problem for me." Notice that. And notice it in a non-judgmental way. No need to criticize yourself for having negative thoughts. Then the second thing is to ask yourself, is this thought true and is it helpful? Sometimes it could be true. For example, "Oh, I'm just so slow," or "This has always been a problem for me." Maybe that's true, but it's not a very helpful thing to be repeating to yourself over and over again. So step number 3, we need to apologize to ourselves for having those negative thoughts. Right, it seems a little bit strange, but it really does help. So you can say, "Wow, oh, that's an unhelpful thought. I'm sorry, Christy Lynn, that's not true." Or "I'm sorry, that's so unhelpful." And if you're a Christian, I find it really helpful to pray about it and ask God's forgiveness and ask Him to teach me about what is true about myself. Then step number 4, we're going to replace those thoughts with something that's positive and helpful. So it's really a good idea to make a list of thoughts that you can tell yourself instead to replace the negative thoughts. I'm going to give some ideas at the end of this video, so make sure you stick around for that. And I think we'll also be discussing this in the virtual harp circle, so the link is up there if you'd like to join us in the discussion over video chat. And then step number 5, we've got to repeat this process over and over and over and over and over again, because we can only change the brain when we make these positive thoughts more consistent, and those are the ones that we're having instead of the toxic thoughts. And that's when the brain is going to trim out those negative thought patterns, and it's going to automatically start being more positive. So I just want to encourage you that you can choose to change your brain. It is something that we can do. If we want to change our behaviors and our patterns of thinking, then we can choose to do that, but it does take some practice and some discipline. So it's something that we're going to have to practice just in the way that we practice the harp. We're going to have to practice positive thinking, because it's going to actually have an effect on our harp playing and just on our well-being as individuals as well, and on our mental health. So it's something where we need to take responsibility for making this change. And research has shown that even thought patterns that we've had for decades can actually be changed if we set our mind to it and are disciplined about putting these things into practice. We can't control the events that happen in our lives sometimes, so the circumstances around us can't control whether you have a musical background at this point, or you can't control how old you are when you're starting to play the harp, but you can control how we approach it and that we think positively and give ourselves the best possible chance of learning. Okay, now is the best part of the video. I'm going to give you a list of all the positive phrases that I've thought of that might help you in replacing those toxic thoughts. There's 3 things you need to know about it. You need to be truthful, so only say these things if they are true, because we're not going to believe them otherwise, and that's not going to be helpful. The second thing is that we must be thankful. It's always helpful to just be thankful and tell yourself some things that you're thankful about. And then the third thing is call out your strength. So whatever the weakness is that you've been thinking about, like I'm so slow, then you can call out your strength that will deal with that. So a good example would be if it's I'm so slow, well, it's a good thing I'm patient. Call out a strength. It's a good thing it's not a race. Let me look at some other examples. I've got all the time in the world. I'm building brain pathways. That's a referral to the frustration video I talked about, so I'll link it up there. We're just allowing the brain some time to adapt to this. My fingers just need some time, so I'm just going to need some time to get my fingers around this. Or maybe you can just repeat to yourself, baby steps, baby steps. I'm getting better. I am getting better. I can look back a while ago and I'm better than I was since then. I'm better than I was last week or last month. I can do this. That's a very simple one. I can do this. Come on, I can do this. Or I'm so thankful that I have this harp. Something like that. Or I'm a persistent person. I can stick to this. I've come so far already. I'm courageous. I'm just adjusting. I just need time to adjust. Or this is going to take some practice. That's a positive, true thing. If you're telling yourself this is so hard, then how about tell yourself, I like a challenge. It's a good thing I like a challenge. And it's a good thing I'm a strong person who can handle a challenge. If you're saying I'm really struggling, you can say it's a good thing I'm persistent. I'm sticking with this. I'm not going to give up. So I hope that list of positive phrases was inspiring for you. Pick out the ones that you like and practice them, and start writing some new ones that you think will help with your specific toxic thoughts. And then come and join us in that virtual harp circle this month, and we can chat for an hour in a video chat about these things, well, and other topics. But I hope you could join us there, and make sure you've subscribed that you've subscribed to this channel, because I'm going to put up a new harp video every Thursday, and click that bell notification button so that you can be notified next time I upload. And again, remember to put a comment down below letting me know what you think about this video and whether it's something you've experienced in the past. And I'll see you again next week Thursday. Bye!